Combines start to roll. Harvest is underway. Soybean growers are optimistic despite challenges. Plus, a farmer in the legislature says taxes are killing folks in agriculture, and they're putting divots in the pivots, improving wildlife habitats and irrigation at the same time. Catch it all this week on Grow. Soybean farmers hit the field. Harvest is underway, but challenges remain, and that's our top story. Combines roll across Nebraska as farmers like Doug Sadoff hope for good things.
We had some decent rains there in July, first part of August, so I think it's going to be pretty good.
The USDA expects a record 316 million bushels of soybeans in Nebraska, and Doug is bullish on beans.
There's great markets for soybeans. It's got good potential.
But soybean growers face challenges as combines roll through massive weeds.
Threw the book at them with chemicals, and I even hired some rogers and to take care of some weeds. Even in this field, there's still a few weeds popping up again.
Of greatest concern, a prolific plant some have nicknamed the devil's weed.
Palmer amaranth plant at the end of the field can produce, according to research, up to 1.8 million seeds.
Nebraska Extension educators warn 99% of seeds going through the combine are still viable.
That seed does stay in the combine. It can be spread throughout the field. It can be spread from field to field.
New varieties of soybeans designed to work with the herbicides dicamba and Liberty give farmers new options that Doug says have been effective.
I hope they don't take that dicamba away because it really worked good this year.
Doug was recently elected to the soybean board. He says export markets are growing and soybeans fit in well alongside Nebraska's cornfields.
To me, it makes some sense to keep it in my rotation.
But what about all the complaints about dicamba drift this summer and soybean cupping? Jenny Reese has been in a lot of fields and says most of the soybeans pulled through, and dicamba was effective with the weeds that are resistant to Roundup.
Dicamba was a great tool for helping on Palmer this year. The volatility, we're just going to have to see what happens at harvest. Most of the situations I've looked at, the beans came out of it pretty well. It's just a few non-irrigated situations where they just couldn't get a rain and they got perhaps hit a couple times, so it's a matter of how well those beans were able to fill.
Expect to hear more from Nebraska Extension during winter meetings about using dicamba for both beans and corn and other options like the Liberty Link soybeans. And that brings us to our poll question. We heard concerns this summer about dicamba drift. Now that we're at harvest, what do you think of the dicamba drift that took place this summer? Was it a minor issue, a major concern, or were you never worried? Follow us on Twitter to cast your vote, and we'll go in depth on Palmer problems in soybeans later in the program. And now results of last week's poll on the subject of the Farm Bill. Assuming the safety net looks much the same in the next program, we asked which program you think Nebraska farmers will choose. And much like last time, it looks like the ARC program is the winner. Results are not scientific. A tax showdown looms, but there's also the threat of budget cuts at the state capitol. Folks in agriculture tell us they're angry.
Property taxes are killing us.
Senator Kurt Friesen worries property taxes could put some farmers out of business.
You're even operating below cost of production right now. And to have taxes the way they're levied right now, it's going to break some guys.
He's been a corn grower all his life and says the state needs to fundamentally change how priorities are paid for.
There's something wrong with how we fund K through 12 education, and that's my goal, is to somehow come up with a process where we continue to fund education at appropriate levels, and yet we take the pressure off of property taxes.
You have a lot of districts like York. We're at 74% of our funding comes from local property taxes.
Mike Lucas says his district received $3.7 million in state aid in 2009. Now, a 99% decline to about $150 grand.
That's about $111 per student.
York schools are part of a coalition along with farm groups, considering ideas like expanding the sales tax or scaling back business incentives.
And are they working the way they should work?
The State Chamber of Commerce stands with the governor, saying they don't want to simply shift taxes. Their philosophy is one Senator Friesen largely agrees with.
Yes, make Nebraska known as a low-tax, business-friendly state.
Where they may disagree is how to achieve property tax relief, but it's something this senator thinks can be achieved.
Maybe farmers are eternal optimists sometimes, but I think this might be the year that we get something done.
The fifth-generation farmer is the only candidate thus far in the 34th Legislative District. It includes parts of Grand Island, along with Aurora, Central City, Fullerton, and lots of farm ground. Friesen says in his 3 years at the Capitol, he's learned how to get things done.
Probably the most important thing is developing those relationships with other senators. In the end, that is what probably will get legislation done or not done. And again, some of these issues have been tough issues, but I think overall we've been respectful of each other, and we just have to, I guess in agriculture in the rural areas, have to make a better argument as to what we need out here in order to make the state succeed.
Friesen chairs the Transportation Committee, which has prioritized county bridge repairs, and he's vice chair of the committee that makes tax policy. And Governor Ricketts recently announced his re-election campaign, and he's kicking things off with a new egg-related event. He will be holding a campaign event October 8th in Shelton with 4 other current governors from Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, and Kentucky. They will join in support of Ricketts' bid for re-election in 2018. They will be having a steak fry at the Ganguish Farm near Shelton. Later, improving wildlife habitat and irrigation, we'll learn more about what they're calling divots in the pivots.